In this video, I'll talk about joblessness, specifically joblessness after completing your degree. So it doesn't matter where you are in life, whether you are a university student that is about to finish university and is doubting the future, or if you're in a position of joblessness, if you do not have a job, then this is for you. This could also be a video for me for the future. I don't know if I'm going to keep my job for long, but joblessness is a blessing and a curse at the same time. On the one hand, when you do not have a job, you are free. Believe me, by all means, you're free. You are free to do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, with only one constraint. That's the financial aspect. That's the money. You do not have the money. Now, if you have the money, if you have saved the money, if you have an inheritance or some passive income, and that's another story, then you're basically free. And joblessness isn't that bad. On the other hand, if you do not have income and you haven't saved, and you're basically sitting on an empty wallet, then you might not feel free. You may even say that your situation is very bad. But if you have a place to stay, if you have people to talk to, if you have a bed to sleep, a friend to talk to, food to eat, if you're somehow getting by, then it isn't all that bad. As long as you're trying to figure it all out, as long as you're trying to find a job, and as long as you're you know that you're not fooling yourself and you know that you're not fooling around. So for the past 7 months, I was jobless. I was jobless from February 2025 until October 1st, 2025. And those months, I was able to use to be able to do the things that I was planning to do for a while, but didn't. And to tell you the truth, I was ready for joblessness. I knew that there's gonna come a time in life where I'm not going to have a job. Because realistically speaking, finding a job today, a job that pays well and a job that lets you not do dirty work, meaning you don't have to get yourself dirty, you don't have to wake up very early in the day, you don't have to work on the weekends. Finding a job like that in some countries nowadays is very difficult. There has been an oversaturation in the markets. Companies were hiring more than they needed to. It is a cycle, it's always like this. When things are good, companies hire. When they fail to develop something new and find new customers, then they have to lay people off. And now is the part of the cycle in several countries around the world where we're in the phase where the companies are laying off, in the phase where the companies are not investing or not risking or don't want to move forward with new stuff. At the same time, you should understand that right now, the situation in the world, the political situation, is extremely weird. In the West, you have a lot of people clashing with the government. In the East, you have wars, right? You have the war in Middle East, you have the war in Ukraine, and unfortunately, a lot of people are displaced, and they can't even think of a job. They have to think of surviving. They have to think of finding shelter and feeding their kids somehow with food, not by earning money, and also trying to just fall asleep in the night, knowing that they haven't had enough sleep. But let's say you're in a good country, in a stable country that has been praised for how good it is. and you settle down and you finished your university and now you're sitting and you can't find a job. What then? Well, me, I know it's not everybody, but me, I knew that's gonna come. So while I was in the university and I was earning money on the side, working part-time, I saved money. So it's very important that you save some money, that you have some time that you can afford not to work, that you have some time that you can afford to just do job research, job applications, and it can take months. So you have to know in the country where you are or in the city where you are, how long it would take an average person in your position with your skills or with your prospects, person looking for a job like you're looking for, to get a job. You need to know how long it takes. And then you have to somehow try and save money for that. And I know you're going to say, if I don't have a job, how would I save money? There must be something you're good at. You're either good at, I don't know, math, or maybe you're good at programming, or maybe you're good at communications. Go and find yourself a side hustle, a side gig, a job that pays you enough to get by while you're studying, while at the same time not needing to earn too much so that you have to invest too much time. And I'll tell you, in today's world, there are opportunities that present themselves out of nowhere that let you earn that money. It's not stable income. It isn't something that's going to let you live a comfortable life forever, but it is something that's going to keep you going. And that's what you need to find before you finish your university, before you know you will have to look for a full-time job. As a university student, you can afford to live in a dormitory where you have to pay way less in most of the cases in order to have a bed and a roof above your head. As a person who has graduated, you don't have such opportunities unless unless you want to do a master's or unless you want to do another bachelor's. So once you graduate, you lose all of your student privileges. That's why while you're a student, in your last years, you should start already thinking about building a network, people that can hire you later, building a list of companies where you would like to work, at least a 50. 50 is the golden number here. If you have a 2% chance of being hired, if you apply to 50 companies, you will be hired. And the 2% chance of being hired is a very realistic percentage. And in today's world, the numbers are as low as 2%. So if you're in your university in the last years and you're looking for something to do, something to improve yourself, which I know a lot of Gen Z people would be doing, then you should be looking for a way to get out there, network, find companies, build connections, hopefully prepare for the harsh truth. On the other hand, while you're doing that, you should also try and somehow already establish roots in the finances. You should be starting to get money. If you're living off of your parents' pockets, you can't do that forever. You have to switch. If you have been already doing something on the side, hold on to it. But a very important point is, don't hold on to it too tight. Because what happens sometimes is you get so caught up in the side hustle that you have and might not be paying so well, and there might not be a bigger prospect. Maybe you're working by the hour, maybe you are working at McDonald's, or maybe you are just teaching and earning money by teaching. You could also be doing freelancing, all type of freelancing. I know it does not get you the money for a perfect life, so therefore don't get too used to it. There are going to be better jobs, there's going to be a better time, there's going to be a better opportunity. This job that you're doing in that moment while you're studying on the side is the job to get you by. It is the job to afford you some extra cash to put aside so that you have financial security while you're looking for a real job. That is, I think, one of the most important things for an average person in life right now. Because let's be honest, education is not special anymore. Everybody does their bachelor's. Most people do their master's. So most of us will be going through this. This video is not for somebody who is trying to achieve it in life without education. Because there you would have a completely different conversation. To achieve it in this life without education, you either need to be delusional, you have to believe in your idea, you have to know that you have something that's going to work, and you have to invest your days, your hours, your health, you have to sacrifice relationships, and most probably you will fail and you will have to stand up and then fail again and then learn again. That's a different story. That's a way harder hustle. But if you're trying to get it like any average person right now, just to go into university, study what you feel attracted to, learn that subject, and then work in that area in the future, then this is what you have to do. Side hustle in the last years of university. Save some money, put it to the side, and then you'll be able to afford yourself a few months, if you need to be jobless while at the same time looking for work and maybe resting after university, which is not that bad. You need to rest after education. So, to come back to it, I didn't have a job for 7 months. I am in Germany, in a country where, as an engineering graduate from the #1 technical university, you should be able to find a job. But unfortunately, I wasn't lucky enough. It could be the bad, unfortunate combination of the job market, the situation with companies failing to improve and hire more. And it could also be the combination of bad luck, because in the past few years I wasn't learning the language so much. And if you live in a country, you need their language. If the main language in Germany is German, you need German if you want to work. If the main language in the USA is English, you need English to be able to work. Same for Russia. If you want to succeed in Russia, you need Russian. If you want to succeed in, I don't know, India, you need to speak the dialect wherever you are, because English is not gonna get you by forever. But having spent 7 months looking for work, I realized that there's a very important thing that distinguishes people who find a job and people who do not find a job. That thing is really trying. It is really trying. Trying doesn't mean you make a quick application on LinkedIn. Trying doesn't mean you just wrote a short email, attached your CV, and now the person on the other side is obliged to read everything. That's not trying. Trying is scouting positions that fit you, that fit the person you are, your experience, your background, and going a step further and making a custom application for that position, directing all of your energy and attention to it, applying, and then if you don't hear back, pressing, pushing, trying to ask back, writing emails, asking, reminding. And I'll tell you what my process was. I found a job after around 40 applications. In the job that I found, the application was like this. Back then, I was making one application every day, because I knew that if I make 50 applications, one of them is gonna hire me. And I was making one application every day. That was already the 10th day, so the 10th application I was doing in that round. And I applied with a very nicely written custom email, a very beautiful motivation letter. I even tuned my CV a little bit to the position. In my CV, I put to the front the important sort of skills and expertise that I have that match that job, the description. And finally, I was hoping. I didn't just apply and forget. I was hoping. I was directing my energy. I was directing my intention towards getting that job. That was with every single job that I applied to. But that job that I got, I knew in that moment that I made enough effort for that application to give me something fruitful. What happened is the CEO of the company replied to me after 10 days. He invited me for an interview. The night before the interview, I opened the company's website. I opened the LinkedIn profile of every single worker that I saw the name of in the company. I just went through it. I did my small research. I tried to learn who works in the company. Who do they have already? And who do they need? I tried to understand their business model. Are they developing new products or are they trying to sell the product that they have? I tried to understand what they sell, how they have been selling it. I watched videos on YouTube wherever I could find. I went on to different posts from different countries and different people writing about this company, and I read everything. And I realized that I have some things that company needs. That company didn't have certain types of employees that I could be. I wrote it all down, and the next day in the morning, in the online interview that I had with the CEO, I pointed everything out. I said, I know this, that. I said, I can do this, that. And I said, I know I can provide you value because you might be needing this, that, and I can give it to you. That's the thorough research that you have to do if you're hoping to get a job. Not just go into the office and expect them to hire you if you say everything about yourself. You have to be targeting the areas that they need because you need to understand if the company is hiring, they're not just going to give money for free. They need something in return. So you need to bring it to the table. And finally, when I went to the last interview that I had with the company, I dressed nice. I made sure that I come with a clean car. I made sure that I was wearing the best, the finest clothes that I have, that I'm bringing the best briefcase bag that I have. I knew that if I make a nice first impression, then this is going to stay in their mind. I'm not just another graduate who can barely afford to live. No, in that moment, I am a serious contestant. And that's what you have to do when you're applying for work. When you have your interview, you have to make sure that you leave a nice impression so that the person who was in the interview does not forget about you. Personal contact is very important. Look in the eyes, speak sure of yourself, speak confidently. Make sure you listen, make sure you understand what they need. Don't cut off. And answer the questions in the most brief way possible. Don't give nonsense, give something to work with. And that is going to be at least one step further, okay? Not one step backward. One step backward would be you come completely unpresentable, you just give them everything you know, and then you say, okay, work with whatever I gave you. Decide. No, that's not how it works. You are the one in a lower position. You are looking for work. You need to be paid. So you have to come and provide value from the first moment. But I'll tell you something funny. After that interview, I had to wait for 2 months for the CEO to reply to me. He said he's going to send me a contract the next week. Imagine how excited I was. I was very excited. I thought, okay, next week I'm getting the contract, and in 2 weeks I'm starting to work. I was so confident. And when 1 week later, after the conversation with the CEO, I didn't receive my contract, I panicked. But I knew if I press, I'm not going to leave these people some room for breath. They have a lot on their table. So just leave them some room on their table. And if you feel like they're ignoring you for a while, set it and forget it. Go and apply to the next company. And that's what I did. During that moment when I had to wait, I applied to other companies. But 2 weeks after the conversation, I reminded them of myself. 1 month after the conversation, I again send them email saying I'm still interested, and if you consider me, then I would be happy to um, start working with you. You have to remind them that you're there. If you have their email, if you have their number, that's very important. Remind them of you. So what happened next is I called the human resource manager and I said, I applied 1.5 months ago and I'm really looking forward for a response. And she said, I have your application at my table. Your salary needs to be cleared. And that gave me so much hope inside because I knew I'm one step closer. And then she said, I'm going to call you the next week. And she didn't call me the next week. But I didn't want to press. I knew that they need their time. If you hear something like, we have your application already processed, we're going to send you an offer. If you have that, then just wait. I know it's going to take you some time, but just wait. And at that point, I waited a little bit longer and I couldn't wait anymore. They were giving me a promise saying we will hire you the next week, and then the next week, and then the next week, and it didn't work out. So I sent an email and I said, if you don't hire me, then I'll have to look for another place. If you don't text me by, I don't know, the next week, then I will have to go with other applications. You could bluff, or maybe you really have other applications. That could also happen. But if the company is already processing you, and if you press them a little bit, if you need to, then they will accelerate the process. At the end of the day, nobody is above each other. We're all human and we all have some empathy towards each other. So if you show them that you really have it urgent, then might be that they will show you that urgency. And that's what happened with me. 2 months after our interview, they hired me and I started working. And it feels freeing. It feels unbelievable to start working and earning your money. I know it sounds stupid to those who have watched enough hustle videos on YouTube, who have watched enough of influencers saying that you can go ahead and start your business in 72 hours. But that's not what life is like if you've studied something that you like and if you want to work in an area that you know you will be successful and happy in. There are some people that want to do their own thing, and that's completely fine, and that's even good. We need leaders in this world. We need people who can do something themselves. At the end of the day, ideas originate from people, and if people support their ideas, they create new things. That's how life goes on. That's how we progress. But if you're somebody who wants to start their career, if you just want to start working, then you should understand it will take time. And you have to have a plan for that time. You have to understand that you need some extra money for that time. If you don't have that money, go get a shit job, work there. You don't have to be an engineer the first day. You could go and work at McDonald's and earn some money to have some time then to apply for real engineering positions. You don't have to be a marketer if you don't have experience and if you don't have money from the first day you graduate. You will need some time. You will get your marketing job, but you will need some time. Do something else on the side. And when you got enough money to settle down and just make great applications for a while, and if you can afford to wait for the companies to respond, then isn't that ideal? That's the best situation. I know it's tough out there. If you're looking for a job, and if you've been looking already for a long, long time, then I suggest you to take it one step further and make it, let's say, unforgettable for the people that are going through your applications. Make it special. Call them, write them emails. If you don't have their email, text them on LinkedIn. text the company CEO, text the company CFO, write emails to anybody working in that company or on LinkedIn. Basically, pursue it until you get it, because this is the only way you're gonna get it. Unless you have 3 to 4 years of experience, this job market is not going to give you a full-time position just like that, because there are hundreds of people like you applying. So you have to stand out, you have to make yourself special, you have to make it special, and then it's gonna work out. It will take time, it will work out. And when it works out, you won't even realize how fast you got it. You will just go into the office the first day, and the first month will pass so fast that you won't even realize. Then you will sit and look back and say, shit, I did it, I made it. And I hope that you can find some peace and happiness in your process. I hope that you can get what you want. Just stay strong and everything will be alright.